All right, I have brought you to past student work. I'm just going to click on Sheree Bennett, who was a study abroad student at the American University of Rome last year, and she made this website, Connecting Across Cultures, and it was just pretty much about her study abroad experience. And I'm showing you this one because she just did a very simple slideshow for her main page. She just took a bunch of her photos that she took during the semester, and she made a little slideshow out of them. And it loads really quickly. It's lean, it's mean. You don't need to know WordPress or anything fancy. You just need to know how to make an animated GIF. And in fact, she made this using the simple animated GIF style that I've already showed you in the previous lesson. What I'm going to show you now is a way to make a slideshow where the images fade in and fade out. So if you want sort of like, smoother transition, then you can use this other way of making an animated GIF. Okay, so I'm going to click on Photoshop, and I'm in Photoshop, and you see I've already kind of like a one of those TV chefs. I've already kind of set up everything just to get the ball rolling. So what I've done is I've gone into Photoshop, and I brought in two images. Actually, it's only one image, and I just made a duplicate copy and changed the colors around a little bit. I've got two images, so let's pretend for whatever reason that I want to have a slideshow with these two images. And obviously, if you want to have a slideshow with 5 images, then you should bring in 5 images on 5 separate layers, etc. Move that out of the way. So I'm in my layers window, and here's my first layer, and I've actually double clicked on it, so it's not called background, because when you have a background layer it's locked. So if you just double click on it or give it any other name besides background, then you can do stuff to it. And then I have this layer as well, which is a copy, and for now I've just turned the visibility off, because in my timeline over here now I have a frame animation. If you don't see your timeline, you can get it under here, window, timeline, and once you have a couple of layers going, it'll give you the option to make it a frame animation as opposed to the kind of timeline you would use for video and for animating in Photoshop. All right, so if for some reason you don't have the right kind of timeline, you can find where to switch it here. So here it would convert me to video timeline, but actually I want the frame timeline. All right, va bene. So this is what I want to do first. First, I want to have this heart, basically, maybe we'll make it fade in from nothing. Let's start out with that. So what I need to do is I need to add a new frame, okay? And in this frame, I'm going to drop the opacity down to 0, okay? And in fact, in this frame, it's going to be at 100%. Let's see if it'll let me do it. Okay, it does. Great. So what you want to do is you want to click on your different frames and change your opacity settings in your layers window here. So in the first one, I told it to be 0. And in the second one, I told it to be 100%, which means full visibility. All right, so here's the plan. Now, we are going to go over to the little drop-down window, and we're going to select tween. Tween stands for in between frames. So what we did over here is we made 2 keyframes. We said on this first keyframe, I want you to start out as invisible, and on my last keyframe, I want you to be 100% visible. And what Photoshop is going to do is animate for us all the steps in between. So tween. So we click on it, we get the tween window. And here you'll notice you have options for position and effects. You can do all of those things, but for now, I'm just going to do opacity, and you can decide how many steps you want. So I'm going to do 3 for now. You can add more, less. Just remember, when you're making animated GIFs, you don't want the overall number of frames that you have down here to exceed 20 or more, because it's going to make your file size bigger, and then it will take longer to load. All right, so I'm going to say OK. Ta-da! Now Photoshop has made 3 in-between frames for me, so that if I were to hit play, you see that it fades in. And you can control the speed, remember? So if we wanted it to fade up slower, you could just change that here under each one, make it ½ a second long instead of no delay. So now when I hit play, It's actually a bit too slow, but you get the idea, right? So now it's faded up, right? If we want it to fade out again, what you can do is get this invisible frame again. And actually, what do we want to do? We want to actually make a new frame. So let's say new frame. Okay, and then on this one, we're going to go over opacity. I'm going to say 0 again. And then with this one selected, we can tween it again. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to say tween. And we say okay. And you see that, remember, 5 was the one that's the most visible. And then it basically added 3 frames in between to make it invisible again. So you kind of get the idea now, right? So now what we can do, let me just hit play for you, by the way. So do that. So it comes in slow, and then I think it's gonna, okay. Okay, so it fades in and then fades out again. Obviously, you can adjust these so that the one that fades up maybe is much longer. Let's do that. Let's make that one be like a second. And then these other ones fade out. These are actually too slow, so I'm just gonna do like a little bit quicker transition in between. Okay, and then frame 5 is 1 second, and these guys are going to be, hang on, 0.2 seconds. Remember, you can also control if these loop or not. All right, so now I hit play, comes in faster, it stays for a minute, then it goes away again, right? All right, now I'm going to add a new frame. Okay, so new frame. And in this frame, let's turn on our other one. And so we can do going from nothing to our new one. And then we need to add the 3 in between frames. So tween, opacity selected, okay. And it's tweening with the previous frame. You can actually make a little adjustments here. So I'm going to say okay. And now look, it's going to go from the white heart to the blue heart. And let's just end with that one for now. We could, make it stay on the screen for 10 seconds or whatever. Okay, so now let me hit play. Okay. Ta-da. Now we have a little slideshow. Obviously, I could make it loop. We have a little slideshow that is not just images changing, but it's also fading in, fading out. So you can play around with the speed. You can play around with how many images you have and what they do. But this is another way, another cool, easy, simple way to make an animated GIF that you can use on your website. So let me know how it goes. Ciao, ciao. By the way, I have a cold, so I hope my voice doesn't sound too weird in this lesson. Ciao.